Hey, Patrick.
Okay.
So you've said that this new set, Kaldheim, is like a masterpiece, right? It's like real good.
It seems like it. I mean, it has the potential. If it plays 75% as good as it looks, then I think we're in real good shape.
I gotta say, I really like it also. I really just have enjoyed going through all the different cards. I'm excited to play some of the new strategies. But one of the strategies we talked about a lot, you know, just surrounding Sarah Angel, I didn't realize they were going to print even more Sarah Angels. This seems like kind of excessive to me. What do you think about Valkyrie's Sword? Valkyrie's Sword, one in a white for an artifact equipment. It has a equip cost of 3. You can give something +2/+1. But wait, there's more. You can pay about the cost of a Sarah Angel to get a Sarah Angel and attach Valkyrie's Sword to it.
That's a pretty big game for an uncommon, right?
Yeah.
6/5 flying vigilance.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much legs this is going to have constructed, right? Like, that equip cost is pretty burly for constructed. I'm just thinking, that's a lot of Sarah Angels. And, I mean, you know, it's
like a token. That's part of the set.
It's like what do you call it? It's like a modal single-faced card, right? It's 1 and a W.
Yeah, it's kind of like the
7 cost.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's sweet. It's kind of just another kicker, but yeah, it's not that good.
No, I don't think it's great at all. I think it's probably the weakest or the second weakest of the Sarah Angel cards that I know of. I just thought, like, hey, we talked a lot of Sarah Angel cards last week, and there were more coming.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that one's going to be the most impactful. But what do you think of? Well, I don't know. What has drawn your eye?
All right, I actually there's like a whole cycle of cards that I am not 100% sure. I think one of them's really good, but there's a whole cycle. Then we've got a buddy. Let's start with Rune of Sustenance, which is the white rune. So it's 1 and a white enchantment or a rune, right? So the fact that it's a rune is an important kind of mini mechanic for this set, and it has the text enchant permanent. When Rune of Sustenance enters the battlefield, draw a card. I like where this is going. As long as enchanted permanent is a creature, it has lifelink. This is interesting. As long as enchanted permanent is an equipment, it has equipped creature has lifelink. Right, so I like this one. I don't know if I like the other ones that much, but this one seems pretty good to me.
Nah.
No?
No, it's fine, I guess. I mean, it's like a cantrip Spirit Link.
So,
equipping the enchanting the equipment, I mean, it depends, but I guess it could be okay. It's a little bit of a slow way to do it, but it depends on what you think the format's going to be about. There's some formats where this ends up being fine.
So, when I saw this card, my head went into a weird place, right? Which is Cartouche of Ambition. You remember that one? The black cartouche?
Yeah.
So that one costs 3. This only costs 2. And the two main differences are this draws a card, and the one that costs 3 didn't. But when it came down, it gave something -1/-1. So every time Cartouche of Ambition got cast against me, I lost a Fanatical Firebrand, right? Like, that's about what happened. And then it gave something lifelink and +1/+1. Obviously, +1/+1 is awesome when combined with lifelink and probably a burly creature. But I was thinking, like, Cartouche of Ambition, that was a black card that, you know, people would splash for it. Like, their blue-green deck didn't have any other black cards, and that was worth playing. This costs less mana and is a cantrip. So I was thinking, like, there might be something here.
Yeah, it's fine. Like, cantrip is, like, at least somewhat comparable to -1/-1.
I think.
And, like, saving a mana is better than +1/+1. You can't be sure that the context is going to be so good for it, because that cartouche I don't think would be good in every format. It just happened to be particularly good in that one. But, yeah, I think this card's fine. This is exactly the kind of card that I know you love, where it's underappreciated and ends up giving you a good, 8 to 10 minutes off the bench as your eighth option or whatever, but, like, is a solid role player to help give you a little bit of a breather in the second quarter and early in the fourth.
Yeah, but I want that guy to win a game for me. That's his job.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what caught my eye this week. But I mean, there are big splashy cards we haven't talked about, like lots of them.
All right. What do you? I mean, I'll tell you what. Here's one. Actually, there is one thing before we gloss over it, though.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned at the very beginning it being a rune mattering. Runeforge Champion being able to go find that rune
Or any rune.
Yeah, but that one in particular, that's a great. That's pretty good.
It's Runeforge Champion, right? So it was 2 and a white for a 2/3 dwarf warrior. So we know that there's some stuff that might like dwarves and or warriors in this and other sets, right? When Runeforge Champion enters the battlefield, you may search your library and or graveyard, right? That's actually pretty good.
That's
for a rune card, reveal it and put it into your hand. If you search your library this way, shuffle it. You may pay 1 rather than pay the mana cost for rune spells you cast. So you can get like the Death Touch rune, you can get this. I think there's a flying rune. You can build your own Vampire Nighthawk with enough Runeforge Champion triggers.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, the red one gives +1/+0 in haste. That's, that's pretty good because that means you can literally just, on turn 4, play this guy, go get the Rune of Speed, put the Rune of Speed on him, and then you have a 3/2 haste. I'm sorry, a 3/3 haste, and you drew a card.
Well, like 2 cards, right? You drew the Rune of Speed.
Well, no,
and you drew the cantrip.
You lose the speed. Yeah, but
okay.
then you draw.
Yeah. All right.
So you end up with just a 4-cost 3/3 haste, draw a card. That's not bad at all.
That's actually not too far off of your beloved Bloodbraid Elf, right? Like, it's not Bloodbraid. It's not too far off.
Let's not jump. Let's maybe. I don't know. It's a Black Lotus short, but anyway.
And a toughness up, my friend.
The ability to go get the Spirit Link one's pretty good too. Like you end up with a 2/3 life link. Like if you have just a 2/3 life link, draw a card. That's a pretty good way to spend 4 mana. And you don't even have to just put the lifelink on this guy. You could put it on one of your other guys already in play, or ideally on a really nice piece of equipment. And you can put it on a vehicle too, by the way. It doesn't say anything about that, but you can. And it works pretty effectively.
Oh, yeah, because vehicles are durable on the opponent's turn in a way that regular creatures are not. And then when they become creatures, they gain the abilities of the runes, right?
Mm-hmm. And when you put the green one on, I mean, the green one's not too bad. You end up giving it +1/+1 and trample and draw cards. You have like a 3/4 trample, draw card.
Well, yeah.
I don't know how many of these you can really play. But what if there's a deck that's like red, white, splash all the colors? Because like I know you've always loved the idea. Maybe not all the colors, but some of them. Like you've always loved those decks that are just like, oh, it's a Boros deck. But I've got these double-faced card lands, so I've got 8 sources of black anyway.
Some nonsense. That's how I think of it.
I don't know. That's pretty good. I've amended my position. It's a hit.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a hit.
So you think all the runes are like...
No.
No?
I think the white one is going to be... I think the white one and the red one are the best ones. I think the black one is tactically fantastic, and if you end up having incentive to play the right creatures, it could be awesome. But I think that the red-white ones, first of all, +1/+0 in haste and lifelink are excellent abilities. They are way better than flying, right? But second of all, red-white that's the dwarf colors, and Runeforge Champion is a dwarf. And that's the equipment combination, and the runes work well on equipment. So it's just very well positioned. I think that the red and the white ones are easy includes. If you're playing a Runeforge Champion deck, I think that's kind of, that's a key part of the puzzle.
I like the Runeforge Champion a lot conceptually. I feel like Rune of Sustenance is a card that I would want to get a lot, and like that just completely slows down certain types of opponents. Like if you just have like one big dude, you could just like stick a Rune of Sustenance on it, and your opponents are going to be apprehensive about ever attacking you. So like sideboarded games, certain matchups, etc. But I think, like you said, some of the other runes are just. I don't know. I think like if I'm searching for the black rune, that's be a weird spot, right? Like my guys are punching up or something, and I'm blocking, and your opponent kind of has to cooperate.
No. The reason that you search for the black one is because you have a pinger.
Oh my gosh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that comes up. Build your own basilisk collar, man.
I'm into it now. I mean,
Yeah,
I've become a Runeforge champion guy. It's my new identity.
that's okay. It's a good identity to have. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it depends on if you end up having enough incentive to actually go that route. You know, because you're not going to want to count on that, but you're going to want that. Instead, it's nice. It's better if that's like a nice to have option that's part of your toolbox. You know.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, man. Well, you're probably not putting it on Brash Taunter, but you could, right? Like, then you just lock them out.
I mean,
I don't know. There's a kind of a shortage of pingers, but they could make one. Yeah, I don't know. Like, most of the pingers aren't very good right now, but they might be eventually.
I think that your pinger idea is good. I think, like, it's probably not going to be a fast enough combo to play in a format that's got pingers on the order of, like, a Cunning Spark Mage, right? Like, actually, is Cunning Spark Mage even playable in formats where Cunning Spark Mage is legal?
Is it Staticaster is the new one?
Yeah, you're right. It's Staticasters up there. Actually, I can imagine Runeforge Champion hanging out with this Staticaster.
Oh, yeah.
They're kind of the same casting cost.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I think they seem kind of sweet. They're going to be fine. It's not like it's completely taken over the format or anything. But I think the red and the white ones are playable, at the very least.
All right. Here, I got another 3 casting cost white search card for you. How do you feel about Search for Glory? That one's 2 and a white. Snow Sorcery. Right, so that's snow.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's the same as when we touched on it briefly before, and obviously they've unveiled. We have the whole set now, so there's more stuff to go get. But like, it's kind of a slow way to do it. I think that if you're going to be playing Search for Glory, where you go get the snow permanent legendary card or saga card, you have to actually be in for the 3 life. That's the reason I think you want this card, is because you think you're like, hey, I want a 3 life cantrip, and I can go get, I can go get something sweet. You can't remember, even though it's a snow sorcery, it's a snow permanent, so you can't just chain these.
Yeah. So,
but yeah.
First of all, I agree. I think that you're going to be getting some amount of life. I think 3 life is ambitious, right? So, given the
no, why?
Because I have to play like a bunch of snow duels to get to 3 life. They all come to play tapped.
No,
you think I'm just a white deck?
No, you can play 2 colors.
So
let's say you're playing blue-white. Okay, you're straight blue-white in standard. Yeah, you got 4 of the tap blue-white dual land. Sure. But you also have 4 Fabled Passage, and if you want, some Evolving Wilds.
So let me tell you where my head's at on this. Okay. When I saw Search for Glory, I'm like, this card seems so slow. I think it's a pretty natural kind of reaction to it. But then I was just like, you know what card I always loved? Chroma's Vengeance. Right? So Chroma's Vengeance, I could sweep at 6, but I did a lot of just like cycling for land, right, for 3. Basically could cycle for land with this if I just like search up a snow permanent. The snow permanent's a land. And I gain 3 life. That seems pretty good, right? Depending on what spot I'm in.
But it's not the worst. It's kind of like cycling It's more like cycling Renewed Faith, right?
Yeah. But I'm just imagining this relative to a Chroma's Vengeance card I like.
I think a Chroma's Vengeance would not be that good if you couldn't cast it. Like if all you're doing is just cycling it, it's not that good.
Yeah, but what if I got the Battle of Frost and Fire? That's a saga, right? That's why I like this card. I could get that saga, gain some life on the way, and I have a sweeper. And sweeper's, in fact, cheaper than a Chroma's Vengeance. And my imagination, using the Search for Glory to get Battle of Frost and Fire, is very Chroma's Vengeance-y to me.
Dude, why don't you just go get the Kraken? That one's actually really strong. Unleash the Kraken, man.
There's a lot of things you can do.
You don't like Icebreaker Kraken? 10 blue for 8/8, costs 1 less for each snowland you control. When enters the battlefield, artifacts and creatures target opponent controls don't untap on their next untap step, and you can return 3 snowlands you control to return the ice Breaker Kraken to your hand, so you can like lock them down again.
So there's more than one thing I can get with my Search for Glory that's snowy or
Yeah,
soggy.
but playing a lot of colors starts. I mean, maybe you can do it.
I mean,
That's
if I'm
the whole
already
thing.
going to play that blue-red saga, Icebreaker.
Yeah, but I don't know why you're going to play the blue-red saga. You can just play blue-white.
Because I want to be able to. I want to be able to search for glory for my sweeper.
Yeah, the Kraken is your sweeper, man. You're not into it? Okay.
It's not that I'm not into it. I might just say the Kraken in this situation. Like, let's have 5 snowlands in play, right?
Okay.
Kraken
how about this?
still costs 7.
Well, how about this? Go get Ugin.
Oh, I can get Ugin.
Yeah, just play blue-white, man.
I could get a cheaper Ugin, and then I could just get a more expensive Ugin later. Shoot, man, what? Man, I don't even need blue. What if I was just like mono white snow? You have a lot of like.
Why are you mono white snow, man?
Because then like my mana gets better.
Not really. I think you get the second color not too hard.
Oh, because of fabled passages. And, all right, you're probably right.
Yeah.
Probably have like a total of 4 taps.
Although, if you want to get real spicy, on the note of Ugin and the Kraken, dude. So, like, Tybalt's Trickery. So we talked about it before, but here's another implementation of it in Standard. So if you play with Kahira, Orphan Guard, as your...
companion?
No, not Kahira. How about Zerda? If you play with Zerda Dawnwaker, Zerda the Dawnwaker, you need all your creatures to have activated abilities, right? You need all your cards to have activated abilities. But the Kraken has an activated ability. You bounce 3 land to bounce itself, you know? And the Ugin obviously has a lot of activated abilities. And you can actually play that Coma, that big blue-green serpent, Coma Cosmos Serpent, which is a 3 green, blue for a 6/6, can't be countered. At the beginning of each upkeep, play a 3/3 blue serpent creature token named Coma's Coil. And it has sacrifice another serpent, choose 1, tap target permanent. Its activated abilities can't be activated this turn. Or Coma Cosmos Serpent gains indestructible until on a turn. So there's a lot going on, right? This is a verdict force that means business. Same. And if you play with Coma and the Kraken and the Ugin, those are some boom booms, right? And then, so that's 12 of your slots. And then you just have 4 Tybalt's Trickery. And then nothing else. And so when you, on turn 3, you go get Zerda. And turn 4 is a little bit of a guessing game, because if your opponent plays anything, if you have 2 trickeries, you can kind of just trickery off on them. You trickery their spell, and then trickery your trickery, and then you just have like either the Kraken or Ugin or the Serpent on turn 4. But you can also, just on turn 5, trickery your own Zerda. And it's not like your opponent can use removal to fizzle it or something, because you're just doing it when it's on the stack. So you just every game get, assuming that you just mulligan aggressively, which you can do, your deck has 44 land in it or whatever. But then you just go get, you can go, you don't just need to play those. You can also play Genesis Ultimatum. Because if you have Genesis Ultimatum, and you, even if your only creatures, like if your only permanents are like the, 40 land or whatever, and you have like Ugins, Comas, and Krakens, first of all, you're going to be 70% to hit a Kraken, an Ugin, or a Coma to begin with. And then next, if you hit an actual Genesis Ultimatum, you just played like 4 extra land and a Genesis Ultimatum. You can just Genesis Ultimatum again next turn. And then if you hit a Trickery, you're still kind of doing something. Like you could potentially... So I don't know. I think you could play Genesis Ultimatum and have tons of hits.
This sounds like the best of one deck I've ever heard of.
Well, there's even more, man, because you can like play a bunch of lands that do things. Like you can play all
attacking.
You can do that too, like Faceless Haven or whatever. But I also mean stuff like Surtland Frostpire or Port of Carfell or Litjara Mirror Lake or whatever. Because your deck has so many land in it, you might as well use some land to do something.
So the important thing is just being able to have the red you need to cast Tybalt's Trickery early, right? Then Zerta their face.
Sort of. I mean, you need a turn 5. So,
I mean, I'm gonna have to. I'm like realistically playing a mana base that can muster UUGG by turn 7, right? Like, I can't play like any like modal double faced sort of.
I think they really go against your Kraken plan.
Well, what if I had like Seagate Restoration? Is that against my Kraken plan?
Seagate Restoration is against your Tybalt's Trickery plan.
Because I might get it by accident?
Yeah. I'm not saying it's the worst or anything, but like it's not what you want.
Yeah, I guess it's also not a land I want to be tapping very often.
No. Although,
right.
dude, it's actually pretty sick. If you just play Tybalt's Trickery, I think Tybalt's Trickery is going to completely break Modern. Like, the version I got now, you Trickery by turn 3 over 90%, and then hit Emrakul. Like, you get Emrakul on turn 3 on the play, over 90%, assuming you're on the play.
Yeah, we talked about this a few weeks ago. Like,
Yeah, but it's even better. You can transform. It's so durable. Like, dude, I think this deck is, like, completely busted. Once I actually started sketching
What's
it out,
the transformation? I don't know this part.
Oh, okay. So there's like a bunch of stuff you can do. Like, for instance, one path is to just the most compact path is to just board in Madcap Experiment and Platinum Empyrean. You don't have to board out the combo. If you just board in that combo, whenever you draw a Madcap Experiment, you just get a Platinum Empyrean, which is like from a very different angle, right? But second of all, when you Trickery, yeah, sometimes you're only going to hit Emrakul like 40% of the time now or whatever, but you're also going to hit either Platinum Empyrean or Madcap Experiment. And a Platinum Empyrean on turn 3 is still unbelievable.
Yeah, it's very
so. And then your lands, oh my god, you can get so much mileage out of your lands. So one possible plan, which doesn't necessarily clash or require the Madcap Experiment sideboard plan, is that you can play the package of like Eldrazi Temple and some number of storage lands, particularly the red-green one, and Temple of the False Gods. Because like if they stop your combo, you can still just beat him with an Emrakul. Like, if you can just Emrakul on turn 10. Yeah, just cast it on turn 10 or whatever.
I like that.
Then another possible sideboard plan is just board in 4 Primeval Titans, 4 Summoning Traps, and 4 See the Unwrittens. By the way, remember, you also get Jagantha out of your sideboard for free anyway. But like, if you sideboard in Primeval Titan, Summoning Trap, and See the Unwritten, I mean, Summoning Trap is dope against counterspells anyway, right? And if you have 4 Primeval Titans and 4 Emrakuls, because I'm saying, like, board in 4 Primeval Titan, 4 Trap, 4 Unwritten, and then, like, 1 Trickery, 1 Emrakul, and 1 Jagantha, which you don't board in. But, like, I think you want a second Trickery after sideboarding, because once you have so many hits, because it's nice to not have to take out the combo. But anyway, the point is, Primeval Titan is a pretty awesome sideboard plan, and then your main deck could just have 4 Valakutes and a bazillion, every red fetch land that exists, and then like tons of like stomping ground. Like, you can have just a million whatever.
Oh, so like my main deck is just still like potentially an annoying Valakut deck. Like, not a good Valakut deck, but it's part of the thing, right?
Oh yeah, your main deck just has 2 Field of the Deads and 4 Valakuts in it.
So I literally just have sufficient mountains anyway. All right, that's awesome.
You have way more than sufficient. The only reason, so another option is to sideboard and Scape Shift. But the reason I didn't want to go with that one is that the stuff that people use to counter your Trickery is going to be good against Scape Shift much more than it's going to be good against Primeval Titan. And once you start going down the Scape Shift plan, it makes See the Unwritten or Summoning Trap way worse. And I think Summoning Trap is just so good where you actually need it. Another possibility with all this is, if you want, you could transform into like some kind of one of those polymorph style decks with some of the red polymorphs. Like Indomitable Creativity is one, but I don't like that one as much because if you Trickery into it, it fizzles. What's the other one? There's like one that's just 3 in a red that only hits one thing and only hits creatures. But it's like, but you end up being able to just transform your Dryad Arbor into an Emrakul.
Well, you could play the red Dwarf Makers too, right?
You could, if you end up going the Valakut way,
right?
Not cheap, because if you ever draw it, it sucks. if you're trying to like actually win on turn 3. Just because it comes into play tapped unless you have 3 mountains already.
Yeah. Well, that's unlikely in that situation that you just described.
So I think this deck is busto. The big thing is you obviously you have to deal with counterspells. That's a whole thing, right? But second of all, you got to deal with you got to have a plan against people who are the types of jokers who are dropping like Aethersworn Canonist or Meddling Mage or any of that stuff. You know what I mean? Where it's like to Lavinia or Deafening Silence, Rule of Law, any of that stuff, any of those lock components. And that's part of the reason why I think that there's a lot to be said for having a plan to just cast Emrakul. Because if your opponent just sits around with a whole bunch of lock pieces...
Yeah, but those kind of lock pieces can be played in, like, Green-White Company decks or Humans decks. Like, they can put a little bit of a clock on you, right? They can disrupt your mana base. You know, if you're... Especially Green-White can play those kind of cards while disrupting your mana base. That's going to be very difficult to get to Emrakul, I think. I think that here are my thoughts on these transformations. The Platinum Empyrean version, I like it a lot in the abstract, but I think that it is strongest against decks that you already maul by your main deck based strategy, right? So, am I wrong on that one? Like, black removal decks you're not getting a lot of value against them. It's red removal decks that you get.
Well, how are they killing it?
How are they killing what? Platinum Empyrean?
Yeah.
I mean, like, Edict, Liliana type stuff kills both Platinum Empyreans and Emrakul, right? Like, so the problem is in game 1.
Usually Liliana is too slow to kill Emrakul, and Liliana is not very reliable to kill Platinum Empyrean when your deck could just have like a single Dryad Arbor in it.
So, I mean, look. I think that if this kind of a deck becomes popular, we have to assume that the tools that people will use in response to it are going to change also, right? And so, there's no shortage of... Look, people aren't going to play Foul Tongue Invocation. That's too expensive. But there's like huge classes of things that people can edict you at similar speed, if not faster speed to your core combo. So I don't think that, like, obviously Platinum Empyrean's awesome if you're playing against red removal, right? It's fantastic. But black removal, I'm a little less excited about. And that combo...
I'm just saying, I don't know how much they're going to be playing Terminate Maelstrom Pulse versus playing like Fatal Push and Abrupt Decay. There's actually like a surprising amount of black removal that doesn't kill this guy these days.
I think that if this... First of all, it seems impossible to me that outside of like some completely currently unforeseen thing or a ban, that this deck would not become very, at least very high height in a short period of time after the set becomes legal in Modern.
We'll have to see how durable it is. Particularly, you even get to play 4 Gemstone Caverns. But why not? Like, when your deck has 52 lands, you can afford for 4 of them to be Gemstone Caverns.
It's clearly the case that this deck was built for the current rule set, right? Like, the Venn diagram between how the rules are currently written for tournament play and deck design are, they hit an exciting point together. But versus I think the Primeval Titan version that you described, that seems like it also has wide applications in situations where people might be trying to interact with you in kind of a normal axis.
You can also try to just like, if you want, see, I like the deterministic route, but if you want, you could just play like a lot of trickeries and a lot of Cascade cards. You can play like 4 Violent Outburst, 4 Ardent Plea, 4 Demonic Dread, like do the whole thing. You just need to have a ton of hits at that point. And then you just play with Omniscience, Emrakul, Ulamog, Kozilek. If you want, you can even play Chancellor of the Annex.
I mean, you're now like You're very different on the fundamentals, right? Like
Very different.
You're no
Very
longer an aggressive mulligan deck. Well, I mean, maybe you're still an aggressive mulligan deck, but you're not as aggressive.
No. You don't aggressively mulligan that much. You have 12 cards. You need to have one of those 12 cards, but you have 12 cards that you keep to win the game, and if you don't have those cards, you mulligan.
So that's super exciting. I wish there were a modern tournament for me to play in because I would play that deck.
If you play in standard, one other direction you can go, you can actually you can have your companion be Kahira instead of Zerda, and then you can actually go get you can play with Craigplate, Baloth, Kiora bests the Sea God, or Emergent Ultimatum, and then if you reveal Kiora bests the Sea God, that's a pretty big permanent. And Ugin also, of course, but if you hit Kiora bests the Sea God, that's a huge permanent. If you hit Craigplate Baloth, that's not as good, but it's still a 6/6 hexproof haste. And if you hit Emergent Ultimatum, you go get Kiora Best the Sea God, Craigplate Baloth, and Tybalt's Trickery. In which case, they either give you the Baloth and the Sea God, or they give you the Baloth and the Trickery, in which case you get to Trickery the Baloth for free, keep the Baloth, and then re-roll. Or they give you the Trickery and the Kiora, and then you have your choice of the Kiora or a re-roll. So that's a whole big plan. And then if you want, you could actually play 7 dwarves. Dude, 7 dwarves? That way you can actually, instead of relying on a companion to counter, 7 dwarves makes it so you can try to go off on turn 4. Because you're a lot, I mean, part of the prop, seriously, it's...
I got you.
I don't know, man. Could be okay. And then, obviously, in more powerful formats, you can play like Rat Colony or Shadowborn Apostle. One of the advantages to Rat Colony, like in Historic, is then you can just play Garuda as your companion. And then, you could seriously just play like Craterhoof Behemoth, Ulamog, Omniscience, Razaketh, whatever, and then just you're a pretty good Garuda deck anyway. You just go get Garuda because you're not doing anything with your mana.
Yeah.
And then on turns, even if they stop your first go off, you can just Garuda, and your deck just has Craterhoof Behemoth and Ulamog and Enrace Forerunners or whatever.
Yeah, I got you. Sounds ridiculous.
And the one last kind of exploit, I guess. You know what deck in Legacy uses pretty close to 52 land? It's like those 39 land decks. If you just play 45 land, you can sideboard out your Life from the Loams, Mox Diamonds, Explorations, Elvish Reclaimers, and go get the combo and then more land. Or you could do it the other way around. You could just start off with the combo, just have 52 land in your main deck, and then just sideboard out the combo and 7 of your land. Sideboard down 7 lands so that you're a 45 land deck, and then just have Life from the Loam, Mox Diamond, Exploration.
I was actually thinking about this for a second. If you're playing against the lands deck in Legacy, what kind of cards do people typically try to fight that deck with? Actually, it doesn't even matter, right? That deck is just busted in every matchup that isn't a broken combo deck. Right? Straight up control decks can't beat it.
If they're playing a broken combo deck, you're
a broken combo deck.
Right, you're going to win on turn 3 every game. If you play your broken combo, you're going to win on turn 3 every game, assuming they don't have interaction.
I think you just flip a coin. If you're do you think that there's more broken combo decks or more white creature decks, red decks, and control, blue-white control decks or whatever in the room? I think there's probably more of those. Play lands. But
the thing is, even if you're playing the broken combo deck, you still get to just have 4 Dark Depths and 4 Thespian Stage.
Yeah, you keep a lot of the stuff, right? So I think that you want to start as the lands deck, and then if they're
But you can even play with Eye of Ugin as one of the lands that you sideboard in, so that you can Eye of Ugin for your Emrakul.
No. I think you want to start as the lands deck. I thought about this. You want to start as the lands deck because I just think there's more red decks, white decks, and blue-white decks than there are just Belcher decks or whatever the broken combo deck of du jour is. But then if you're in that matchup, then like you said, the number of cards you have to take out are relatively compact. Then you just swap it up. I think you might want to be a greater than 60 card deck just so that you can fit.
No.
No.
You just really need to maximize the chances that you could. Maybe. I mean, I just don't think that's very likely because the bottleneck is actually. I think what you want to do is be a 45 card deck. Like, I think the problem, you see, you only get to sideboard out 15 cards. And so, like, in order for the combo to work, your deck has to have no cards, no spells other than Tybalt's Trickery, 3 Emeralds, and 4 Violent Outbursts. So, like, your deck has to be able to go up to 52 land. And if you want to sideboard out all those cards, the most you can sideboard down to is 45 land.
Yeah. I'd have to...
But if you play with more cards in your deck, they're going to have to all be land.
So
you're going to end up playing 60 land out of your 75 cards.
I'm thinking about this for a sec, which is... Like, you're the worst land stack, right? But I think maybe the worst...
You're not that bad.
No, but you're not that bad.
You're only off by, like, 10 cards.
Like a pretty bad land stack is still just annihilates a blue-white deck in Legacy, though. Right? That's the thing that I'm thinking about. But, like, let's say you're the worst land stack, so you're, like, at a dramatic disadvantage in the land's mirror. Like, they can't possibly beat you when you switch.
No, they're not beaten.
Like, you can't win. So you're like, all right, here's my Emrakul. They're like, my Emrakul was 6 turns down the line. Yeah, I know. Got you.
Yep. So, I don't know, man. I don't think it's busted in Legacy necessarily, but I think it's busted in Modern.
This sounds like a great line to explore, though. I think that's... I don't know. I like it. I love the idea that there are some new spots to explore, and then I'm going to immediately hate it when Tybalt's Trickery is just the third coming of...
So deterministic. It's the next coming of Hypergenesis, man. It's just going to be so busted.
But Hypergenesis isn't deterministic. Like, you can cast Hypergenesis and still lose, right? Like, you get everything you want from Hypergenesis, and, just a simple Wrath of God can beat you, right? This is a completely different story. You cast the thing. You cast the Emrakul.
Take the turn.
Yeah,
you annihilate 6.
Like, they're
so dead.
Like, the fastest...
They're so dead.
The fastest Emrakul decks I could make back when I was really interested in playing Legacy were, like, Shallow Grave Delver decks, right? Like, so you were, like, 80% of a Delver deck plus you had a Shallow Grave combo. The problem was I would often spend so much resources to get out my super fast Emrakul that I'd even get them, annihilate them, and they could rebuild, right? Like, this is not happening in that situation.
But you still have the Emrakul.
Yeah, but like, the Shallow Grave version, you lose the Emrakul.
Right. Like, you can hit them on turn 3 or turn 2 if you have Gemstone Cavern. You hit them with Emrakul on turn 3. Like, you play Emrakul and take the extra turn and annihilate them for 6 and still have Emrakul 91% of the time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is not the same situation at all. Like, I could get, like, a turn 2, maybe not a turn 2, I don't remember the exact type.
You can get turn 2, but not very often.
Yeah, but I could get a fast Shallow Grave Emrakul, but you'd lose the Emrakul. That's the whole point. Like, they actually can rebuild.
They're just trying to play with 4 or 5 life or whatever.
So, yeah, because that build wasn't a red Delver deck, it was a black-blue Delver deck, so obviously you can't just lightning bolt them out of the last couple life. Anyway, this has all been super exciting. What else?
You're into it. Yeah, okay. What else is busted from this set? Or good, anyway?
Yeah, here's a card I like. Tell me if you like this one. I don't know how to say this word. Immersturm Predator.
Okay.
So it's
Go on.
2 BR for a 3/3 vampire dragon, right? It's got flying. And whenever Immersturm Predator becomes tapped, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard and put a +1/+1 counter on Immersturm Predator. Sacrifice another creature. Immersturm Predator gains indestructible until end of turn. Tap it. So, like, it's a 3/3 for 4 flying, but it's got, like, kind of a built-in double defense thing. And then once it's going, it's going hard. Hard for a fair card. This isn't like an unfair card.
I think this card's pretty good.
I like it.
The 0-mana sack outlet is not limited to once per turn.
No. It's limited to how many guys you have. That's the thing. And it can only become tapped once per turn, unless you've got some weird thing going on.
Right, but that's... And you only get the counters, assuming that you have a card that you can target to exile. But that's usually not too hard. You literally just sacrifice the creature.
Yeah, but it only triggers when it becomes tapped. So if it's already tapped, then you're not going to get like a...
But you also can just attack. So like you can just attack as a 4/4 flyer, then a 5/5 flyer, then a 6/6 flyer.
Yeah.
Plus, this card's indestructible. Dude,
I like this card a lot.
Great.
I mean, like,
I think so too.
As far as just like fair attacking creatures go, like I think like super into this card. Like maybe you know, you want to sacrifice some phoenixes? Like those guys come back.
I think this card's good.
Could you like play Kroxa on the stack, sacrifice it to Emberstone Predator? That's a little counterproductive. Little bit counterproductive, but not that counterproductive.
Well, it's fine. It's less counterproductive if your guy couldn't attack, or if for some reason you're about to do a bunch of damage to the board. But yeah, it's not that good. Like, it doesn't do what you want at the right time.
It is as...
Well, maybe at the turn you play it, though, if you have 6 mana.
Yeah, as Jerry Thompson once told me, that is in the range. That's in the range.
Yeah.
Squarely in that range.
Yeah, this card's good. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a top 10 card in the set.
I like it. Here's another card I like.
Yeah.
It is another saga. It's the other... We haven't talked about this saga. Forging the Tyrite Sword. Okay. It's another uncommon. So it's white RW saga. Chapters 1 and Chapter 2 are create a treasure token. Chapter 3 is search your library for a card named Halvar, God of Battle, or an equipment card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. So I think like this card is like a red herring. You're like, oh, it's like a Stoneforge Mystic sort of Steel Shaper's Gift type card. No, actually, it's a Seething Song. Actually, it's both.
I don't know, man. This card looks good to you?
I mean, like, you get 6 mana the next turn.
You don't get 6 mana the next turn.
Yeah, you're at 3. On that turn, you make a treasure, right? So, play a land, you're at 4, 2 treasures, 6.
So if you play a land, on the next turn, you'll get +2 mana. Right, and you invested 3. So it's kind of like 1 mana more than your than that artifact, the Pentad Prism.
And it's also limited, right? So if you spend you get permanents to begin with, which could be good potentially, right? But then you use them, you use them. But on the other end, the thing that's pretty good about this, I think, is it pays you back, right? You can get Halvar, God of Battle, or you can get another equipment that you might want.
That's interesting.
Like
I'm not too optimistic, but it's not a 0. It could be interesting in particular if you value the treasures for other reasons, though, like with Magda Brazen Outlaw.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that those guys would probably be friendly. I actually think... I'm not sure where yet. I think this card is going to be... I think it's going to do something. I think, like, the jump to 6 is something that isn't necessarily very common for red-white decks and Standard.
That's true.
Like, that's an exciting feature for them. Like, if this were a green card, like, whatever. But, red and white... They get different nice things than mana boosts. I mean, also...
that's a great point. That's actually a great point to bring up just kind of as a general principle. Whenever a strategy or a color or a deck or whatever, whenever they get stuff that they always get, the opportunity cost of using the new... Like, the value over replacement of the new thing is often just not as high, right? Like, or generally, it's however much it is. It could be better, but you're cutting something good to get something good. Whereas when somebody gets something that's a color pie bleed, or that they haven't had in a while, or they don't currently have access to in Standard, or isn't, it's never appeared on Tribe before, but when they get something that's new to them, where they just don't even have an alternative, they don't have an analog, it gives them a whole new dimension. They often get way more mileage out of it.
They really appreciate it.
They appreciate it a lot more. It's kind of like how if you're a red deck, it's like shocks are a dime a dozen. But if you got to just play with a shock in a green deck, it could be a game changer.
Or like, so Gut Shot, right? Like, Gut Shot's a pretty medium
Great
card,
example.
Right? Like, that card was unreal in a blue-white deck. Like, it did everything from...
Same with Dismember.
But Gutshot was like killing other people's Delvers before they became a problem and buffing your Pike, right? Like that, all for no manas. It was a big game. All right, Here's my last swing at a saga.
Sure. Yep.
This one is like a little expensive, so I'm like, it's a little expensive. But it has so much text on it. I'm like, this is a lot of text.
Oh, it's a card from Kaldheim. Got it.
And its high end seems like really ridiculous to me. But on the other hand, it's one of those cards, once the boulder is rolling, you have to expect that something's going to get smashed, but you got to get there first. So, Waking the Trolls is a burly 6 casting cost card at 4 RG. And so it starts out with a Stone Rain. That's not a good return for 6.
I love that you're just in for the 6 mana Stone Rain.
But then, Chapter 2, so I've now spent my 6th turn, presumably Stone Raining you. If I get to keep playing, I get target land card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. I just put one of your lands into the graveyard, so that's hip. I can get that one. And then Chapter 3, choose target opponent. If they control fewer lands than you, God, I hope they do. Create a number of 4/4 green troll warrior creature tokens with trample equal to the difference. Right? So that's
a lot of trample if it's equal to the distance.
If you've got some sort of the problem is there's no economical Stone Rains anymore. So even the regular Stone
That
Rains,
is one of very many problems.
yeah. Like I said, I thought this card was exciting, but it's a little slow. And by little, I mean trolls take a while to wake up.
It's a little slow. Yeah, I think it's a little slow. I think that you're talking about getting trolls that can't even attack just in time for Ugin, assuming that they do nothing.
Wow. That puts life into perspective, man. God forbid somebody has a counterplay to your 6 casting cost Stone Rain, right? Yeah. Negate. Oh, well. That was a good game.
Last one I wanted to kind of mention here. It's a little bit weird, but Haunting Voyage. So it's way worse in some ways than Patriarch's Bidding, but it is one-sided. So it's 4 black, choose a creature type, return up to 2 creature cards of that type from your graveyard to the battlefield. Well, that's interesting, right? Like it's a double reanimation spell. And you can foretell it where you spend 2 early on and then 7 later. So if you do 2 plus 7, you can play as all your creatures of that type instead of just 2. So you're normally playing it for the 2 with the hope that if you can reanimate 2 things of the same type, you win. That's pretty big, right? Like reanimating 2 cards is way more than reanimating 1, right?
Yeah, but it's more expensive than the typical reanimation card.
Yeah, but if you could just play this for 6 mana, like, is that not just like humongous?
Could be. I mean, you got to get the stuff into the graveyard first.
Like, for instance, Waker of Whales. I guess you don't want to deal with a bunch of whales.
But Waker, that's a great example of a card, right? Like, it has a natural ability to go to the graveyard, and it's pretty good once it's on the battlefield. Yeah,
but there's also, like, I guess it's a tough way to do it, but looting away is a thing, or self-mill is a thing, but there's also just playing your cards out, and then you get 2 of them back.
The old-fashioned way.
The whales? Dude, you can play Pursued Whale, too. Just be like playing lots of whales.
No, I think Waker or Whale, that's the best one.
No, play both. They're both whales. They don't have to be the same card. They just have to be the same creature type.
No, I got you. I'm just saying I like having that card as it just seems so natural to me.
What if you get back like elementals or angels, man?
Angels. God.
Yeah.
But this is a black card. Angels are white. You just never play those cards
angels
together.
are often black also. You could play black and white angels, man.
Half the angel cards in the set are black and white anyway. Solar Flare Angels. There's actually a different black card that I think might be awesome, especially considering we talked about like some indestructible type stuff, especially in this episode, which is Terragrid's Shadow. You like this one?
Okay, keep going.
I love this card. It's 3BB, instant Barter and Blood, right?
Oh my god.
But it has Foretell for 2BB, cost of a regular Barter and Blood, but instant.
No, I don't love this one.
No?
That's fine. It's okay. It's barely fine, but I don't think it's the right way. I see why you love it, though.
Like
I know that when you say you love it, it's not that you're saying it's the best card in the set or anything.
No,
it's just that it makes you
love
happy.
it.
Right.
Like I was always sad Barter and Blood was never good. Like that's part of my experience. I'm like, this is a card I feel like should be good. It never was. All the creatures that were, at the same time as Barter and Blood were Arcbound Ravager. So like it was, you were dead before you could cast it, or like they were a Chroma, so they had haste and they'd already brained you for 8. And that was a sorcery. So I feel like this is there's indestructible stuff we were talking about. Like I think like some way to deal with indestructible threats, especially at instant speed, is a thing you might want to have the ability to deal with.
Yeah, you might.
And you can bias it a bunch of ways too.
Yeah, yes. It's hard to get excited about the 37th best option, And maybe it's right sometimes, like tactically, but it's just some stuff. It's like another option that is a fairly common option, and it's not particularly priced to move, but it's not out of the question.
So I feel like when I'm actually playing, and I'm playing and it matters, I probably got whatever the equivalent of a Monastery Swift Spear or an Ugin is in the format. That's what I have in play in front of me. Like one of those two things. But I love exploring the idea of playing fair cards and doing a bunch of stuff to interplay between me and my...
Yeah, I know. I want to play fair. I'm into it.
But at the end of the day, it's going to be a Monastery Swift Spear or an Ugin. That's who I am.
I know. That's not who you want to be, though.
No.
It's just, in your old age, you just like winning too much.
Or maybe not even an Ugin, like a Nissa at least, right? Like, give me a battle cruiser, or give me a Swift Spear, or like a Firebrand, whatever you got these days. But the idea of a Duress and a Terminate and some kind of thing I have to pay 3 extra mana for to get out of my graveyard. I have romantic feelings about that kind of magic. Just not practical ones.
Yeah, but what are you going to do? Love doesn't always need to be practical.
Fair enough. But deck selection, at least 75% of the time does.
Well, only if you want to win.
25% brew is appropriate, I think.
Yeah, it depends on what you're trying to accomplish, but, I think that it depends on the person, because I think how much brew you have and how much stick to the staples, I think it scales differently from person to person. Like, I think that if you do too much brewing now, you might as well just try doing a little bit more net decking. And if you just net deck a lot, you might as well just try doing a little bit more brewing. Like, literally, whichever one you're not currently doing as much, doing that one a little bit more is probably going to make your game stronger.
Might make you happy also.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's also going to, surprisingly, that's also going to make your game better.
So, this is what I learned.
Weirdly, if you get too happy, your game will go way downhill.
Yeah? This is what I learned from COC Vegeta. Play an FNM every week. You could get all the brew you want out of the way. That's what it's just like. It's just FNM. That's when you do brew. Then it's out of your system, and you sit down at the serious table with, Jackal Pup Wasteland, and you don't feel bad about
it. Wise words from the Grandmaster. All right, dude. I look forward to it, and hopefully Tybalt's Trickery doesn't get banned for at least a few weeks.
It'll be at least a few weeks. I think you're right, but I'm excited to try that one. All right, see you soon, Patrick. Bye-bye.
Life didn't work so great. Tried to play dredge for jail or hate. Ghostly prison waiting for my untapped phase. Your core trapped in amber stasis days. Lost a lot of friends, got left